It almost feels like every single month there is a new watch release, and at least every 4 or 5 months a new Black Bay to go with it. I have to say that this being the Black Bay 54 was among Tudor's best watch releases in my opinion of the last 3 years. Now I have abstained from getting this watch into my collection, and I want to share some reasons about this watch that I've finally got to experience in the time that I had it lent to me, where it lands and how it compares to all the Tudor watches I've collected so far. I'll start off by saying that I've not had a negative experience with Tudor, and I know some of you will share your mixed experiences. My first experience was the Black Bay 36 Blue, a watch I bought back in 2017, and still to this day I believe has the best shade of blue ever used on a Tudor. And yes, that even includes the Black Bay 58 with that muted blue that is very popular and eye-catching, admittedly. I had sold the watch primarily because I didn't like how the crown was sticking out with that black anodized ring around it, and I was just getting into dive watches at the time, which then led me to the Black Bay 41 Smiley Text ETA version, a watch that I think is fantastic, but mired by a thick case, slabby sides, and a near 52mm long lug width from what I can remember, far too big for my wrist. So far, there seems to be a few compromises within these Tudors that I just couldn't get around keeping these watches until the Black Bay 58 came out, which to me was as close as perfect, in my opinion, for what I was looking for at the time out of a dive watch. I soon grew tired of how common the watch became on social media, combined with the fact that the gilt indices and the gilt bezel was a look that wore me down over time. I grew tired of all the watch publications hyping up the Black Bay 58, and when the Tudor Royal came out, I had a short flirtation. I bought one, the 38mm blue dial, which I thought was a beautiful watch, and only held back by the fact that the integrated bracelet had a weak butterfly clasp that was uncomfortable on the wrist, never sat right on my wrist, and I sold it. Then came the Pelagos FXD, my favorite Tudor of them all. A watch I had so much fun building a strap collection around it. Rotating through different single pass straps was a joy, and I had wished the watch was smaller. 42mm was still too wide for my wrist, and so off it went, regrettably so, to a good friend of mine. I had a brief flirtation with the Tudor Black Bay Pro, nearly came close to buying one, but held off as I bought a Longines Zulu Time instead, and felt that that was a better value for money. So as mentioned, all of the Tudors I've owned, they've had at least 1 or 2 characteristics that just didn't sit with me as a watch I'd like to keep. And simply put, in the world of wanting to experience as much as I can to grow my mature opinion of collecting watches, it would make sense to move them on when the demand was still high for them. I will go out and say that the Black Bay 54 is the closest I'll ever get to owning a Tudor Submariner 7928. True Patina has done a mod where they have fitted a large, big crown from a modern Rolex reference and pencil second hands as well as Mercedes hour hands. That combination of modification on something as perfect in scale as the Black Bay 54 at 37mm wide, I think is the perfect Tudor. What are some things I love about the Black Bay 54? First of all, its aluminum bezel insert, with no gradations at all. It lends for a very legible look, and is a nice nod to the 1950s and 60s dive watches from Rolex and Tudor. The case proportions, the thickness of the bezel relative to the dial, and how every bit of text fills in the dial spacing quite nicely, is such a great, eye-catching feature. The case is remarkably thin, at only 11.24mm thick. It's even slimmer than the Black Bay 58. And I have owned watches like the Super Squale 38mm. This watch wears even thinner than that. I love the use of 20mm lug width, which broadens out the shoulders of the watch, giving the lugs and the case design appear larger than it is. The bracelet tapers from 20mm down to 16 and then back up to 18mm at the T-fit clasp. Yes, there are rivets, and yes, it is a screw link system, but I don't mind that at all. I've gotten used to it by now. The T-fit buckle is tremendous. It reminds me of modern Rolex clasps. I love the fact that the shield kerf gives you good purchase to pull up the safety clasp. The fold-over clasp, that is. The T-Fit clasp feels solid to operate. Combined with the fact that it uses ceramic ball bearings, you get a very satisfying clunk as you operate it, both on the safety fold-over clasp and the actual buckle itself. Every bit of this feels quality to me, and I think this is just one of the reasons why people love Tudor so much, as they are benefiting from Big Brother Rolex in its innovation and the use of these very advanced clasps on sport watches. I enjoy the fact that you can adjust on the fly with that extra bit of adjustment within the clasp through the use of a spring mechanism that allows you to pull inwards and outwards at least an extra link out. For those hot climates or moments where you'll know that you want that adjustment for your wrist, you'll have it there. The operation is very satisfying. Lift up, pull out. Fantastic, easy, and extremely satisfying to use. My big gripe with the BB54 is that undersized crown. I really can't stand operating it. It is such a difficult crown to operate in the fact that it's not only is it small, but it's rather narrow. However, the other part of the watch that I do rather enjoy is the use of a 60-click bezel. I've always maintained that a 60-click bezel is more satisfying to operate than a 120-click bezel, and that's something I will defend to the end. Another thing I want to discuss is the size of the BB54 in terms of its modern scale relative to other watches that are larger. This is one of my favorite micro-brand watches, the Seaholm Offshore Diver. It's a 41mm, but notice how the thinner bezel and open dial design makes it appear much larger than it should. But then when you have the watch next to a vintage Rolex, for example, this is a 5-digit Sea Dweller, the 16600, it has very similar design language. Notice how the thickness of the bezel is relative to the Tudor, and the size of the dial opening is a little bit larger, being that it is a 40mm wide watch. It still comes across quite similar in its design proportions. However, the Tudor BB54 absolutely trounces any vintage Rolex or Tudor in thinness alone. Another winning feature for the BB54 is how it sits on my 6.5-inch wrist. And I think that when you zoom out and you don't have any camera parallax, it appears to be just rightly sized. For anyone that has a wrist all the way up to about 6.8 to 7 inches, you can still wear this watch. The owner of this watch who lent me it actually has a 7-inch wide wrist, and he remarks that this is actually deceptively larger in the real world when you wear it. From day to day, you won't notice that it is 37mm. I love the fact that the bezel insert doesn't have gilt indices or numerals. It stands out different from the BB58 in that regard, something I grew tired of with its all gilt-like look. The versatility of this bezel combination with its dial I think is really charming. All in all, I have to say, I'm looking forward to getting one of these in the future, and I will definitely investigate what it takes to modify one to have a larger crown, and I may, debatably, still keep the snowflake hands. We shall see. Thank you for watching. I will catch you in the next one.